Okay, today we're tying a Perdigan style nymph that I'm calling the E-Static. The reason for that is it is tied out of a material called anti-static bag. So basically what we're going to be using is a piece of this. As you can see, it's a metallic reflection. It's a mylar style of material, and when you cut it into a nice thin strip, it makes a very good body for a fly or a rib. So this is what we're going to be using today. I'll show you how I cut it in a few moments. The other materials we're going to be using today is a Hanak jig wave hook in H450 BL in a size 16, which is that one there. You can also use 18 and 20. Tying this in the 16 today for the video, and the fact that I'm also using a 2.8mm silver tungsten slotted bead. The other material we're using is a piece of red feather. These come from a shop called Spotlight, or just a craft shop that's been strung together for costumes. So a piece this big has lasted me a very long time. So once you pull a feather out, you get something like that. We're going to be using that in the tail, and then we're going to be using some UTC 70 denier red for the thread, and finishing off with some Gulff ambulance red UV resin and Loon UV flow. Okay, we'll get a hook in the vise. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm positioning the anti-static bag under a steel ruler, trying to get probably only a couple of millimeters of the bag protruding. Obviously trying to get as square a cut as I can get. And then once I'm happy with my positioning, I've got a craft knife there waiting to go. I'm just going to draw the craft knife along the ruler, and there you have it. The body material for the E-Static Perdigan nymph, or you can use it for ribbing other bodies. It gives a nice grey metallic tinge to whatever fly you're tying. Okay, as I said, the thread is the UTC red. Start behind the bead and then work your way down. And what I like to do is spin this thread counterclockwise. It flattens the thread out, as you can see there, and gives you a very smooth body. Okay, take away the tag end. I like to tie the tail in on the way down, and in this instance I'm using probably four or five pieces of the barbs. Pull it off. position them once I get them lined back up again. We want about a body length behind the hook. So whilst that's in that position, I'm just going to move it through. That's not doing me nicely. Continue winding down to end of the hook. And one wind under the tail just to hold it up. Come back up the hook, still with a flat thread. Trim off the waste of the feathers. And this is where you can add a bit of a taper into the body, keeping the thread flat. Come back down until about half, 2/3 the body length. Rotate it anti-clockwise again if you need to. Come back up. I'm going to come back down to half. Back to the bead. Quarter and back up. Okay. So I'm going to tie the body on top of the hook. So just spin that back a little bit so it bounces back, grabs that. I'm just going to tie that top of the hook down to the tail. I'm just going to leave a slight red tag there, and I'm going to bring it back up, touching turns. Back up to the bead. What I'm going to do now is just a touch of super glue on the thread. And we'll wind this forward. It helps to keep a bit of tension on this material and give it a little bit of a stretch. And just touching or slightly overlapping turns, work your way up to the bead. trim it off. Couple of turns just to in behind the bead, and what I'm doing up here is just building a small red collar. It's also seating in the bead. Once I'm here, we finish. 2 or 3 turns. Remove the thread. Okay, now coming in with the UV, Loon UV flow. A little bit on the body. And then just spread it around the body a little. I'm happy with that. In your light, set your UV. The next step for me is just putting a shell case with the ambulance red, and all I'm going to do is drop it into the slot of the bead. Let it fill that gap up. Let it settle. As you can see, just on the back end of the bead. And set it. And there you have it, the Static Nymph.